Hi, and welcome to another tutorial about getting your site up and running in the cloud. Now, of course, depending on your background, you can use a lot of tools, a lot of different ways, from a Linux server with an Apache client to a Windows box with PM2 or any other API software, node software. Anyway, any combination. There are so many. Um, but today we're going to take a look on how to get everything up and running using Heroku. Now, Heroku is a cloud solution that is one of the better free options that are available for students. Of course, if you have paid, if you have money to spend, there are some other ways to get your platform up and running. But again, I'm going to show you a demo on how to get your full stack application, your front end and your back end, running in two different apps on Heroku for free and let them communicate to each other. Again, this is building from the full stack demo that I created in session 7 for Web 2. And it's going to have, of course, at one side, a very simple front end. I spruced things up a bit, you will see. It's a bit less of a minimalistic design and has a bit more meat to it. We have our second component, which is the API, which is always fun to have constantly running in the cloud, so we don't have to do some messy local setup. Of course, this is what you have to do for your course projects. So getting that API up and running as our second priority. Now, of course, this is going to be connecting to Mongo Atlas. So once your API is up and running, it should connect to Mongo Atlas from Heroku out, and that should be the end of it. Now everything will be powered by Git. Of course, I am going to be running my own Git repo, the same one as you guys have, so the course project repo from the assignment. And I'm going to show you how everything works. Now, first of all, Heroku itself. You're going to be signing up. Of course, this is just the sign up page, the beginning page. You click on sign up, you follow the protocol, create your account, and then of course you are coming to your dashboard. This is my dashboard here. Now I have two tests here already. Both of them are down or are not running directly. We are going to create new applications. Like, you're going to create a new application right here in the top. New, create new app. And an app is basically your a piece of code that is going to run online. That can be a piece of that can be an API. It can be a node script, a constant node script. It can be a front-end website. It can be anything. So we are going to be testing, of course, the Node.js functionality. So we are going to start with our API. I think that's the most important thing to get up and running. Front-end, basic HTML and CSS, not that hard. The API getting up and running, that's something else. Of course, we're going to do a test here. Demo API Web 2, and that's available. Of course, you're going to be calling it Web 2 course project, and then your name about the same as your GitHub repository, as I will show you in a second. Choose your region. Of course, we live in Europe, so take Europe. Create your app, and then you're going to come to a lot of options in here. Now, of course, don't get overwhelmed. Play around with it. No, there's nothing actually here that you can break directly. So first of all, we need to get our code on here, like get our code up and running in this cloud. Now, if we go over to the settings, let's just begin here. We see that we have our name, we have configs, build packs, probably things you don't know about yet. If you want to delete it, if you want to clean up again, at the bottom there's delete app. You click on it, you give the name, and you can delete the app. Again, try it again, make sure it's up and running. Now, before I can actually create my application and use my code on, I need to have my Git repository up and running. Now, if you go to your Git repository, this is mine. I shall refresh. I think I have the last commit, the beginning of the demo, beginning of this demo. So what is in here is very, very easy. I have placed my backend just randomly in here just to show you the Heroku concept. After that, I will do some tweaking on how we can deploy our applications with one Git repo that has two folders, front and back, just like I taught you, just like that asked you to do for the assignment, and use that one repo to actually power two apps in the Heroku dashboard. All right, let's start with the beginning. Again, I have my server in here. I'll show you in Visual Studio Code. There's nothing special in here. There's the index file. Let me check. Index file. Again, this is about the same code as you saw from the full stack demo. I added some things to give back an index.html. If I were to launch it locally, I can do that. For example, node, let's just keep it simple, not even nodemon, node index.js. That's index.js. Again, example app listening, 3000, running on Heroku, you can ignore, that's for the demo. And then connect it to my database. Now, if I go back to my browser, localhost 4000, if I come to that part, it should be running. Let me think. Oh, 3000, I'm sorry. It's port 3000. Et voila. I have a very basic HTML site. That is my root with some info. I will give more information on it when we deploy it to Heroku. That's my basic API index file. Now, if I go to /API/boardgames, just like the demo that I did in session 7, you will get the data from the Mongo Atlas database. Again, of course, before you deploy it onto Heroku, make sure it works, that it actually runs, and make sure you have at least the get API ready. Now, I'm going to close this up. I'm going to shut this down. There is some console log here that I want to ignore because it's going to clutter my logs. Again, for those who do not know how to return a file, again, I have a public folder here where I placed an info.html, which is the one you just saw. And if you want to return that in the root route, you can send the file back. So response, send file. And of course, you have to combine the path with the actual file name. So /public/info is the actual file name, but you have to preface that with the actual dir name. So again, I use the basic node path or path module for that. So require the path module, that's step 1. Have your response send back a file, that's step 2. Step 3, path.join, have the dir name. This will be the the directory name that is actually where this API is running, plus public info combined, and that will be public info.html. All right. Now, that is on my GitHub repo. Now, I'm going to couple this GitHub repo to my Heroku dashboard. Now, deploy is the place where you want to be. Pipelines, we're not going to see pipelines today. If you have interest in it, just ask me during the lesson. I can clarify that a bit, but that's for other and more complex scenarios. We just want to get our thing up and running. Now you have 3 methods. Now, of course, Heroku has its own CLI. Well, not of course, but it has its own CLI. I would have recommended that if there was an easy way for Mac to install it. Now, Mac here, it uses Homebrew. Homebrew is like the NPM for Mac itself. Now, I saw the experience with Terminal is not that great, so adding another complexity layer to it, I left that behind. So again, Heroku Git, of course, in the Heroku documentation is very well documented. If you go here, Heroku CLI, download, install. As you can see, for macOS, you have to brew something. And then other installation methods, other tips and tricks, verifying your installation, getting started. It's way more command line based. Also, of course, perfectly capable, but we will not be doing that for this demo. Feel free to do it or test it maybe in a different project. We are going to connect GitHub. Now, if you click here, connect to GitHub, you will be able to sign in and allow GitHub to get access to your repos. Now, I have given from EHBMCT, which is the organization in big quotes that all the repos of you guys are connected to. So if you click on this and you search for your name, you should only be getting the repo for your name. Now, if there's something wrong with the settings on our side and you can see other repos, just leave it alone. You cannot change anything here, but just work with your own code. I see everything. If I click on search, I will get every repository that is linked to As you can see here, there are a couple of familiar faces. For example, the ones you want is course project. So if you look for your name, Mike, for example, you will see that there's an EHB MCT Web 2 course project. That's the one that you want. That's the one that you are using for the assignment. So if we connect that, it takes a couple of seconds, and then we're connected. Now, the next part is getting that master branch uploaded. Now, if we go back to settings, I think it will, no, probably from the deploy on out. So again, deploy, you have two options. Automatic deploys, we come back to that later. We don't need that now. Now we want manual control. We want to control what is happening. So what I will do, we will choose a branch to deploy. Now, most of you probably have only been using one branch, so master will do, or main. Some will have main, one of those two. Select the branch to deploy. That is the code from that branch. In that case, it will be this version of code, the one you see here. If you want to see it on the GitHub repository, you will see it here. Again, my master branch. You will see branching in different scenarios, again, next semester, for example. I want to have this deployed to the server. Perfect. How do I do that? I click deploy branch. Nothing more, nothing less. If I click on it, it's going to take a couple seconds, and then you can see it will run a script. Can I enlarge this? Yes, I can. This. So, as you can see, it's building the master branch. What maybe you have not seen, I will go up a bit. It's installing dependencies and installing node modules. Again, do not push your node modules to Git. If you have them on Git, try to remove them with a rebase. There are lots of tutorials online how to do that. Go on there. This will install it for you. It will release it and it will deploy it. Now, your app has been successfully deployed. Okay, but what did it actually do? Now, of course, everybody's going to click on the view. And look here. I have my API documentation. Now, of course, some things can go wrong. Where would we see that? If we go up here, in the more section, we have view logs. So basically, if you run your application in here and it crashes, then you will see an error right in here, as you would in the logs in Heroku. So the logs here. Oh, webhooks logs. My apologies. And you will see here release 3 created, blah blah blah. It's 7:30. Well, it's 5:30. It's actually 6:30. Example app listening. Remember that? Not localhost. That was hard coded. At this port, it randomizes a port 31027 running on Heroku. And then one of the things that I want to see is here, connected to database, full stack demo. That means that I'm connected to my database and I can actually test stuff out. So if I go to my API, again, look at the URL, demo API web2.herokuapp.com. So this is a public URL which you can fetch from any website that you have. So /API/board games. If all goes well, I have my board games again. So you now have your API up and running. So let me just show you in code what you have to adjust before you get here. You have to change 2 things to your server. The first thing is package.json. Again, package.json has lots of things in it, one of them being scripts. Once you run or deploy basically the code to Heroku, it will run npm start. Npm start just means that for npm, it's going to look into the package.json and it's going to run the start script. If you look in here, you probably do not have a start script. There is none. So you need to add it. So what does the start script have? Node index.json. So it's going to execute that command for you. That's the first thing you need to add. Start node space dot, and then for me it's index.js. See what your server is called, of course, what your server file is called. That's the first thing you need to do. And then to work with Heroku, if you go and look into the documentation, they work with a proc file. Proc file is here. Very easy in the sense that it's a file, right mouse button, new file, capital P, ROCFILE, no extension. Very important. It doesn't have .text.json. It's just that. As you can see, it automatically recognizes this. I have material team icons in here, so that's why it recognizes this as Heroku file. What is going to be in there? It's a web process you're going to be starting with the command node.spaceindex.js. So just create that file, put it in the same place as your package.json and your index.js, and add the web node index.js. And then it should work. Again, everything here has been demoed when in my Git repository, all my files are in the basic section. Again, in the basic section. In the next video, we will see how I would revert this to a front folder, a back folder, and actually make two different apps to deploy on Heroku. Let me see if I need to say something else. Again, as you will see here in the documentation, in the logs, you will see any console logs that are also in your program. As you can see in the router, it had /API/board games, and it actually got that request and sent something back. Anything else for deploy? Just if you push, so the flow now is if you change something and you make a change and you push this to the origin, then you can deploy the branch again. So we don't have automatic deployment on yet. We will in the future, but at the moment, if you want to have a new version on that Heroku app, you push it here to the Git repository. You go back to your Heroku app and you click on deploy branch. Just give it a couple of seconds to recognize the changes. That's it for the beginning. Again, we are going to come back to personal. We are going to create another app that has front and then see the tricks to have one repo with two applications split over two apps on Heroku. See you in the next video.